Okay, everyone, welcome and thank you for coming. Just making sure that the sound's coming through okay. And if I do. Okay, that worked. And then. Boom. Myself where I should be. You guys should be able to hear and see me on this gloomy day in Canada. Okay, so I have all that checked out. So, welcome. End of the week, market closed. Not better in the UK. Isn't the stereotype you guys are always rainy? I think everyone in the world thinks we're snowier than we are, so I wouldn't be shocked if we think that you're rainier than you are. Okay. Everything's working. Beautiful. All right, so again, if people are new here, this is the time of the week where I go through essentially what is the basically go through all of the short videos I made throughout the week on the channel. I talk about the markets and what I think went on this week and what I think is going to go on the next. Cool. And then, we just talk about the market. I sit here, I'll answer questions for you. We usually go for about an hour. And then I go off and I finish the Stats Edge Pro member stuff. So they get all that with a bunch of lead work to make sure that they're able to prepare and everything before before the next day. Right. That's part of the goal is I try to get them that on at latest like a Monday, the morning before the trades, but 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, so far anyway, it's been the night before. So I'm sure it will be a little bit variable like that. So yeah, let's just get into it. Let's start with the trade wrap ups, and then we'll go into the market analysis. So I just got some comments that the trade wrap ups are the thing that people they want to see more of because they watch the channel. These short trading videos, I don't know if I'm going to continue or how long. I kind of want to do a little bit more, like less videos, more polished type of thing. I don't know. And I think I may do a thing where that's going to release to the Stats Edge Pro people first, and then, later down the line, pop it up on YouTube, I think is a way to look at that. Hey, Raz, it's going. So let's just get into it. So it is, what's the first day of the week, man? Doing these right at the end of the week is always funny because my brain just kind of fried. So the first one would have been uploaded on the 23rd. So that would have been FSR, which I know I took and I am still in. So basically we were looking at FSR because of one of the main reasons was this fat short float right here of 23%. That's a pretty substantial short float on that one. And I was kind of seeing that this line that I drew in was support back here, and then a bit of resistance here, and then it broke through and it came back down to test it, and now we were bounced and just kind of chopped sideways. So this one might take a little bit longer to develop, but I got triggered in when we broke these highs, and my stop is going to be under this low right here. So this isn't a super short-term scalp, but I'm in there and just kind of waiting for the chips to fall where they may, right? It's either going to get going or it's going to tank. Most annoying thing that could happen, so it's probably going to be the thing that will happen, is we have earnings on August 5th. which, you know, I'm going to be out before then unless I'm up substantial on the position to give myself enough cushion for a tank. So, you know, applying max pain theory, it could just chop around till then. And that's fine. That's trading. Next trade. LFMD was the next one. Haven't done anything with this one yet, but I still like it. Another pretty big short float on this one. And then just kind of chopping around here. Basically what I would want to see is I want to see a close over this base. Hey, Grant. It's been raining all day, so the dogs haven't been out, so I wouldn't be shocked if you see them coming and bugging me. Yeah, so LFMD didn't really do anything. I think they're in telehealth, so this is kind of a... Yeah, telehealth. So this would be, you know, this would benefit off of a... if the Delta variant is going to cause people to talk about lockdowns or something like that, that was kind of part of the thinking there from the fundamental side. I don't look at fundamental stuff, but I do like to look at a story every now and then. So again, just didn't do anything. I'm still doing that experiment, which I talked to you guys about, where I'm just looking at the last hour of the day and not doing anything other than that. So I want to see like basically a break and a close above these recent levels to take those. Question right away, and I forgot to ask questions, right? The reason I do this live in front of you guys instead of just, you know, by myself is, let's not kid ourselves, exposure, right? So well, that's another thing I'm supposed to ask. If everyone can take a second and like the video and give it a share. YouTube likes that stuff. I appreciate that. But yeah, ask questions, because that's, you know, why would I turn on the camera, right? If it wasn't to interact. So the question is, if it did chop sideways, talking about FSR, would I get out? Yes, right? I don't like to hold into earnings. Now, you know, if this thing breaks up next week and it's at $30 or something, or $25 or whatever, and then it's going to report earnings, well, I may hold through that. But you know, especially with these newer and EV companies and things like this is the IPO date right here. So this company hasn't been around for long. You know, you could get a lot more crazy action. Just look at Amazon, right? AMZN, right? Like that's on a percentage basis, only 8%, but right, Amazon's a company that's been around forever, right? And it's, you know, craziness can happen because of earnings. I don't try to predict earnings. I just avoid them. If there's any binary event that's coming, I just try to stay out of it. So yeah, LFMD, nothing yet. Still like it. I actually got to pop that on here. Make sure I am alerted if something happens. But I still like the look of this one. Again, it's what I call a higher low play, right? You look for things to sell, right? And this whole time, this is making, if you just look at the structure of the actual setup, right? High, low. That's the textbook definition of a downtrend. Yeah, Mike, that's when I say IPO date, that's the conversion date. Still, it's just not a company that's been around very long, right? So this is the textbook definition of a downtrend. You got a high, and you got a low, you got a lower high, a lower low. Right? That's a downtrend. So then you get a big push up, and then it kind of bases right here, where, you know, it's, if, we don't know yet, but if this thing turns back up and, right, we break this area at some point, well, now if we, you know, ignore this past action back here, well, now we're an uptrend, right? We have a low, we have a high, we have a higher low, and then we'll have a higher high. So these are the patterns where I try to kind of snag that higher low. I don't catch the stocks as they're falling. I wait for them to bounce and then come back, and the hope is to try to grab them when they bounce from a higher price. You know, it means, right, you leave money on the table not trying to catch the low, but I find it more profitable in the long run. So yeah, so if LFMD can get and hold above this, or close above this level, I'll be interested, I'm sure, in it again. How long would I stay in positions if they just chop sideways? Well, JanX I don't consider a chop sideways. This thing's been great. And you use JanX and FSR. JanX has been great. For you guys who don't know, I don't know if this was a video or if this was just called for the Stats Edge Pro people. Shouldn't use the term called. Stats Edge Pro is not a signal service, but it's a just where you see my thoughts, and you can see that JanX was out of this base is where I liked it. So I took it out of that base, and then I got out a massive chunk of this when it got to 30. So, a quick move from, call it 27 to 30 is 10% or so in 3 days. So I wouldn't consider that chopping sideways at all. Pulled back. I'm still in some. I have some of my original stop here. I think it's like a third of the position, and now we're back up to 32. So now we're talking 20% up on the trade. So that one I wouldn't consider chopping around. So as long as this thing kind of stays above the 20 here, I'll probably stay in this one. But FSR, right, I'll stay in it until earnings, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, unless it gets, if it gets a push, great. But if not, I'll probably just get out. If earnings is a non-event, I can always get back in, right? That's the beauty of living in a world where commissions are so damn cheap, right? Is that get out if you're at all concerned. Like, there'd be nothing wrong with getting out of an FSR here and then waiting for it to close back above there again and getting right back in, right? There's nothing wrong with that at all. So that was that, and we did LFMD, which I'm still going to put on watch, BRBR, and I've got my notepad here, so I want to make a note about that. LFMD. BRBR has been good. BRBR, I just want to make sure, because those two candles closed pretty close together. I just want to load up the video. Yeah, so I liked it, or I mentioned it right here. I actually took it, that's what I was looking to see, if I waited a day or two, because I took it on this candle right here. So it was talked about right here, right, because I wanted to see it out of that base. And then yesterday, and this is why I loved just trading this last hour, because the day after I was interested in it, it had this big sell-off, and then this kind of big bounce back up, and then closed right over that level. So I picked some up there, and I'm still in BRBR. Yeah, for sure, Sam. Again, when I'm done all my scanning and everything, we'll do a little chart talk or whatever, where you guys can say, hey, take a look at this, and I'll do an analysis live on it. Where is, I closed that tab. So many tabs, too many tabs. Do I use Bollinger Bands? No, I use it in scanning and stuff. But not on my charts. I like to keep these are like my full charts. This is what I use, and it's more about just that I like to keep it as clean as possible, because I think price action trumps everything. Oh, VXRT, that jerk. Oh, never mind. Not a jerk. Don't care. So VXRT, I called when it looked like this just a couple days ago. And then it gapped up, and I basically said, oh, that bastard. And then I looked at it on the close, and it was, I guess, right in this area. So I skipped on it, and then today it fell again. So I didn't take this one basically just because it gapped without me. And then it pulled back right here. So there was no trade on that one. I'm not going to chase a gap up. That's nearly, 10%. Not going to do that, right? Just doesn't make any sense. So that is it for those videos. So next, let me grab my Trend Spider, and we'll start going through our market analysis. So there's that. And then I want to add in a koi, and then I want to add in a Forex Factory. Oh, those are the three, right? Yeah. Bring them down here. If you see me crane my neck like this, I still don't know what I think of it, but I'm not talking to you. Go away. Stop. Put smart things in your home and they end up just triggering all the time. Yeah, I got one wander here, one wander here. So if you see me do this a lot, it's just because I'm looking at what's up there. Do I use a specific trading journal software? No. I have kind of my own things, but I am really, for all of the math stuff that I like and I do, and I'm, all of the, automation, programming, and all that kind of stuff that I'm into, I use my iPad and handwritten notes for journaling. It's just, I open up every morning and I just write. I think there's something about pen to paper in its right digital form, obviously. But I just write them all down and then I flip through it once a week and then I just make more notes of what it is. But like actual like detail tracking everything, no. And I don't know if Brett's here, but I have it on the agenda to go through journaling and stuff like that soon. Just been a insane week. So yeah, I've got so I apologize I haven't done that yet. The week's just been nuts. NBC wants me and the CMT wants me and Refinitiv wants me and all this kind of crazy stuff. So but I've got some hammock time booked for the weekend to catch up on things that I should have done before. Yeah, so let's take question, what triggers my stock the next day? Well, if it's closing above the area that I'm interested in but not too far above, and then I'll look at a little bit of the intraday price action and things like that. Nothing, there's always a level of discretion there. If there's not a level of discretion, then I would just, programatize it, right? That kind of stuff, right? So Bitcoin had this, I've been kind of talking about this range. There's not much Bitcoin or crypto analysis going on in Stats Edge Pro right now, just because there's nothing to analyze, right? As long as we're in this range, there's nothing. Now, I'm debating if this candle turns red and gets, near under here on a close, taking a little bit of a short as like a scalp to see if we can get a pullback. Just because when a market moves up like this and then puts in a doji, sometimes that doji signifies a short-term top just because there's a bit of indecision there. RSI you can see is getting to overbought, right? Just one of those things but there's really not a whole lot to do here. And there's really no sense going through all of the other cryptos because they all look the exact same. The only analysis to do is where in their base are they, right? They're all in this low base, but the question is where. So, I don't think there's much to do here when it comes to this. So, I gotta make a note here. Right, so just again, if you're a crypto trader and this is going on, right, what you should do, what I would do. I'm just some guy on the internet. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But it's in a range. So the only thing that makes sense to me is to shorten your time horizon, right? To go and say, okay, well, usually I trade Bitcoin on the daily chart or whatever it is, but it's just chopping around in this range. So let me zoom down to like an hourly chart and see if there's some kind of opportunities there. So when it comes to shorting off this level, I think that's what I'm going to do, where I'm just going to zoom into, say, an hourly chart like this. and just note that I have, come on, there we go, and just kind of play with this high and this low. So, for example, we broke what I'm watching again for this short. So that doji translates to this choppiness from yesterday. So we've broken down under the choppiness and now we've bounced back up. So if we start to curve back down and we break back out of this range, that's probably where I'll take a short with a stop at wherever the turning point is, and target maybe down here, and that would be it. So it's just one of those go go shorter term when the longer term is just smack dab in the middle of a range, and just again, you can play the breakout of this range, but the way I look at it is gone from 30,000 to 40,000 straight. So I would like to see, a pullback or some backing and filling before it goes, or I'll miss it, which I'm totally fine with. Right? There's always another trade. There's always another, right? Bitcoin is not going to 8 billion. It's just not, right? It's if you're buying it now, I don't think you're getting, right? What's it going to do? Hit 100,000? That's a double. That's nice. I could find that in the stock market periodically as well, right? So I'm not worried about missing insane rips on this. Is basically the point of that. Next, let's just take a look at the Koyfin stuff that I look at, just so that we've got an area to check out. I like to go into this US sector, and it goes back 5 days here to show this sector watch. So basically, again, I just like to take a second to explain this. If anyone is new, if you are, welcome. Basically, what this does is it just breaks down the performance of each individual sector that comprises the S&P 500. And what I see just by looking at it real quick is if you look at XLY as your consumer discretionary, so that's buying shit you don't need. XLC is communications, so that's Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, AT&T, cell phones, that kind of stuff. XLK is technology, right? And XLI is in industrials. So essentially everything that most people would consider, things that people would participate in if the market is going to be strong, is close the week down, right? So everything that everyone goes, right, because people are buying consumer discretionary stuff. Sorry, the wife's asking what to bring home for food, and that's way more important than streaming. So essentially, when I look at that and I say, okay, everything that is discretionary, everything that people participate in like really bullish scenarios is down, and then we say, okay, well, what's up? Materials, which is actually pretty good. It means building, but energy, financials, healthcare, utilities, and consumer staples. These are all defensive sectors. So the defensive sectors are way up, right? So could be slightly telling that there may be some worrisomeness. Oh, crap, I forgot that I'm up here so big. Here, I'll just do that for now. There, sorry. So yeah, all of these names right here are all your quote-unquote flight to safety names. Basically things that people buy when they are worried. So that has me slightly not concerned, but cautious about the market. Then we go into Forex Factory. So this is just where I grab news events that are going to occur. So we have this in through here. And then here's the US ones. That's what I like about the website. It just kind of shows, okay, here's everything in the US, and then here's the time that it's going to occur. So ISM, construction spending, these are pretty good economic indicators. So construction spending is a pretty good leading indicator. If all of a sudden A lot of construction industries are buying stuff to build, right? They're buying lumber and they're buying steel and they're doing all these things. Well, that's got to be good for the economy, is building things. ISM manufacturing is a little bit more lagging as a factor, but it's still interesting and important. So with this whole ISM thing, I think this is going to be pretty substantial news because a lot of this has to do with inflationary stuff as well, which is that's the forefront of everyone's mind. So when I'm looking at this news, what I'm looking at is, okay, what is everyone talking about? If we were in an area where the Fed didn't matter and inflation didn't matter, I wouldn't spend so much weight looking at what the Fed is going to do and when the Fed speaks, and I wouldn't spend so much time worrying about these numbers. But it's you tune into any news station or you listen to any podcast. Like I really like the even though they're it's a different world of mine, but the guys over at the Compound, downtown, Josh Brown, all them, I think they make some amazing content. Um, but them everywhere else you listen to, right? The All In podcasts with those guys, the billionaires and all that stuff. Everyone's talking about inflation, 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 inflation. So that I'm going to worry about when the Fed and this comes in. So just to talk about how even though I'm a technician and I'm a statistician primarily, I still take a look at stories, not so much news, but the stories of news. So I hope that makes sense. So yeah, these things are more inflationary, therefore I think they're kind of a little bit more interesting when it comes to this. So let's get back into here and let's take a look at the RSP. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to show you guys. So I've started to watch. Did I just minimize that? Great. The RSP instead of the SPY, and there's a good reason why for that. So if we take a look at the SPY and then HD, I was trying to learn the hotkeys for this. HDS holdings. We can bring up the holdings in the SPY and their weights. And this is going to be, I think, telling to a lot of people because a lot of people have been, I mentor traders. I have Stats Edge trading. Again, I, interviewed by different people fairly frequently, things like that. The story I've heard over and over again is, man, the market's rocking, but my stocks aren't. And then it's like, okay, well, what is the market? So if you look at the S&P 500, and this is something that in a normal market, I use as kind of my benchmark of the market, but I've stopped recently simply because if you take a look here and then pay very close attention to these numbers on the bottom. So we have Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple. Apple having 6% of the S&P 500. Microsoft having about 6%. Amazon having about 4%. If you total up these like top companies from Nvidia on up, it's like 30% of the S&P 500 is actually like 5 or 10 stocks. And those 5 or 10 stocks are all these giant, mostly tech-related names. So the S&P 500 to me right now isn't a good representation of the overall market at all. Just because it's a representation of these basket of a few stocks that, everything else will certainly affect, but this basket of huge stocks is going to be the biggest deal. So I have been looking at the RSP HDS, where so the RSD has the same stocks within it as the SPY, but it's what they call an equal weight index as opposed to a cap weighted, right? So cap weighted basically just means the bigger the company, the more it will affect trading, right? The RSP is kind of flipped from that, where it's more about each company, you take it and you divide it buy a 500 and then you just add that amount to the index and then you cycle it through, I think quarterly or something. And you can see the scale down here is way different, where suppose, instead of 5, 6, 7%, it's 0.18, 0.2. So, right, we can see that most stocks just cluster around that. So that means it's a better representation of what's going on here. So that's why. And the guys at Stats Edge Pro will know this because the analysis that I do for them each and every night. I should always have something to plug when I say that. One moment. Yeah, the analysis that I I do each and every night for you guys. And if you're interested in Stats Edge Pro, you can come sign up here. It's $50 a month, non-recurring, so you can try it for a month. And if you don't like me, you can just cancel. It's not an alert service. It's basically just you get the output of this. What I'm doing right here, I do myself silently every night. I prepare a report and I send it off to the guys, and then with that comes with a list of stocks that I'm watching for the next day and price levels that I'm going to look at. Where do we get that? Just let me know what you mean by that, Grant. If you're talking about the RSP, that's the equal weight. That's the symbol, and you can type it in anywhere. So where the SPY is in this nasty uptrend, the RSP has been just chopping around here. So that explains why most people have been a little bit frustrated and say, oh, I just can't get anything going. And it also explains why when I was talking about a lot of my trading earlier, it was like Janex, buy it, get a couple days of move out of it, sell 2/3, right, and then leave an original wide stop and just let it go, is because these chops are continuing. So we broke out of there yesterday, which is good, and we held today, which is good on a closing basis. Now, I don't like this potential tweezer top going on here. Tweezer top is a short-term reversal trading. Oh, Grant, it's joining Stats Edge. Just click on that link below. We'll give you a little write-up about what it is. And actually, let me get my video. And this is probably what if you want to know what it's all about, take this video and then just save it for later. This is where I talk about exactly kind of what it is and what it's not. So if anyone is interested, if you're watching this VOD after and the chat's not there, just go back a couple videos on my channel. It's got this green, I need to get a thumbnail person. It's got this green picture here. And that's me just going over what it is. But yeah, so RSP, again, broke out, which is great. I've learned a crap ton this month. Oh, thanks, Michael. Appreciate that. Yeah, so tweezer top is slightly worrisome to me. I'm not gonna say, well, that's it, it's over, guys, right? Pack up your stuff and go home. But as I was talking about in the room, I didn't enter too much today on the close just because I didn't like the tweezer top. But however, I do like the fact that it's holding above this. So if we get a chop like this for the next handful of days and then it goes, that's great. You generally want to see some sideways action after a breakout like that, as opposed to it just ripping, because then quite often it will pop back down. So I'm excited to see what will happen next week, but more cautious, I guess, than anything is probably the best way to put it. And then if we go into the SPY, you can see the difference, right? So if we go into the SPY, well, that's pulled back a little bit over the last few days. Again, just showing that, again, probably a lot of it's because Amazon, right? Amazon gapped down, and then Apple, right? Not doing too well, possibly a double top looking there in Apple. So again, just cautious with that. XLU is one thing I wanted to look at, because this is the utilities, which is a big flight to safety, and it is putting in this kind of interesting looking rounded bottom here. So it will be interesting to see if we can get over that level and push higher. So yeah, Bitcoin, just before I go into the scanning and go over your guys' charts, just wanted to wrap up my thoughts on Bitcoin, which is in the crypto markets, you're stuck in a range. Just again, if you're a short-term trader, great. If you're a long-term type of a person, what I am going to do on Bitcoin is just wait, just sit and wait, and you know, wait until the top is cleared and held, or the bottom is cleared and held, and inside that range, I'm going to pop around and trade that based off kind of what's going on. So yeah, so when there is no trend, trade. When there is a trend, hold. Is kind of the simplest way to put that. When it comes to the markets, again, I am cautiously optimistic because we broke out finally on the RSP, the IWM. Again, just more choppiness, but this is a little bit more in its range. So cautiously optimistic, but not full on bullish. The SPY even, right? It's got a temporary high right now. So it wouldn't shock me to see a little bit of short-term action. We have an RSI divergence here in the SPY, which just, again, could show a little bit of weakness there as well. So again, nothing to say that this is the end of the world and it's time for everything to go, but I'm just not aggressively buying right now. I'm holding a little more cash than I normally do if I'm like full on bullish, right? So with that being said, I'm going to do some scanning and ask your questions. The first, or whatever chart you want me to look at. I'm going to assume just right away that it's a swing trading type of a thing. If it's not a swing trading type of a thing, then you have to specify that. If it's an investment or very short term trade or something like that. I'm going to look at everything through my view, which is swing trading primarily, and then day trading basically just algorithmically. I do still day trade. It's just really boring. My style of day trading, just because it's the same thing every day and it's pure play scalping. Nothing that I could help anyone out with, if that makes sense. Ooh, I gotta reset this virtual machine I got going up here. Oh, it's mad. Come on. Man. Reset your stuff. So, yeah. So BTBT is interesting. I don't know what they do. Bitcoin mining company. Okay, so you're going to be tied to the price of Bitcoin a bit there, which worries me slightly, simply just because basically I don't like trading things that are 24-hour markets in 5-day-a-week markets. So you're gonna now, obviously, looking at this chart, it's not tied to the price of Bitcoin 1-to-1, but it's gonna have some of that just because of the fact that they do Bitcoin mining. So, fun fact: I worked for a Bitcoin miner for a year. I consulted, sorry, with a Bitcoin miner for a year, in which basically my job was to try to pick the points to get out of what they mined. Which they were very happy with, because I started, I think that was in 2018 before the crash, and I walked in on the first day. I said, okay, everyone out. Everyone out of everything. Looks like shit. There's no ways this thing that's rocketing 1,000,000% is going to continue to do that. I've been around enough to know that there's a crash coming and it's going to be bad. Get out. So they loved me, but so you're going to be a bit tied with that. I like the chart. I like the look. Like, if it wasn't tied to Bitcoin, I like the fact that this thing, you're not catching the falling knife. You're waiting for it to bounce, and then it's putting in this kind of pattern. So I like that. I would probably want to see it chop more, but I think you're fine. Take a shot over these highs with a stop down there. Just understand that if Bitcoin, um, the uh, if like you buy this on Friday, and Bitcoin just tanks on Sunday, right? What do you do? Right? You're just gonna know that it's gonna do what it's gonna do, right? It's probably gonna be down, and again, not the end of the world. That's a risk you take, but just know that, right? Just know you're gonna be tied to a bit of the price of the coin. I can't wait. I probably shouldn't even put this, like, mutter this into existence, but that everything's going to be 24-hour sooner than we think. I'm kind of excited for it because I'm very much a create my trading plan, find a way to automate it. So this last hour trading stuff, I'm going to be automating fairly soon, and then walk away and let things work. And it's one of the reasons that I like trading crypto so much is because I have to focus around the time of the entry. I take my entry, I put out my stop loss, I put out a partial profit target, and then I walk away. And my watch or my phone or my iPad or something will freak out when those prices are hit. Until then, I don't need to think about it, right? It's just like offloading. I'm all about, where did I hear this? I think it was Ali Abdal, who's a YouTuber I'm a big fan of. And he just kind of said the brain's made for creation. It's just not made for holding things. So I think a 24-hour market will be great where that risk will be diminished a bit. But again, I think that's going to happen fairly soon. We'll see. AMAT is kind of interesting. Earnings are out of the way, which is good. Just looking at this here right away, it's got this nice high tight base. So if this could break and hold over 140, I think I'm interested in that. So I'm going to take a screenshot of that. A little bit of a slower mover than I'm personally used to, but it's a nice looking little chart. Swing short on NLOK. Just that's to the short side. To me, that's pretty overextended. Right, you've gone from 28 down to 24. This thing's a pretty slow mover. Again, if it was me, I'd be looking to find a place to buy this. To be blunt, I just can't. Right, I can't buy stuff that's up 4 or 5 days in a row. I can't buy stuff. Right, if you take a look at this on the weekly chart, it's down 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row. Now, like something like this, I think may have been a good short, right? Because you have a little bit of congestion to work off of, or that. But again, I'm more of a buy the dipper, sell the ripper type of dude, or buy the breakout, not buy things that are up a few days in a row. And I certainly can't short things that are down. Well, when's the last time this made a higher close? So there's like 7 days in a row there where it's been unable to close, except this one, I guess. So yeah, it's just not, just too far for me anyway, personally. Yeah, no worries. And again, there'll always be a bit of there's a lot of personal preference to this. Like I always like to use the example of Barry from the Trade Ideas Trading Room. When he buys stuff, to me, it often looks overextended. But that's just me, right? And he's been doing it for years, and it works great for him, and that's fine. For me, it's always just I look immediately and say, where does my stop go? And if I can't immediately see this is where my stop goes, and it's fairly close, and I can get 2 times that risk, I don't do it. So when I look at something like, what was it, NLOK, right? So say you short it right here. Where does your stop go? Up here, right? So okay, so you're shorting at 25, needs to get to 26, so then you've got to be able to get it down to here. Yeah, that's not, you know. Now, if you're looking at it for you're looking to short for a fundamental reason, and you're looking for an area to short, I would just say, well, if it bases around here for a while, or if it bounces maybe into this low right here and then fails, something like that. But I always need a level to work off of, just to make sure that I can keep my risk as insanely tight as possible. Because again, my philosophy with trading is very simple, and that's no one knows shit, and it's all about risk management. So everything I look at says, okay, where is that risk management going to occur? This is interesting. Turtle Beach. Does anyone? I remember. Geez, this is memory lane with Michael. Back in my gaming days with Halo, saving up my Canadian Tire money and buying a Turtle Beach headset. No, it wasn't Halo. It was Call of Duty, and just like being the envy of my friends. I worked at Canadian Tire. The Canadians here will know what Canadian Tire is, but I don't know if you guys have an equivalent there. It's like a Walmart that's a little bit more about auto parts stuff. Yeah, saving up all my pennies so I could buy what was like $100 headset at the time, so I could hear everyone coming in Call of Duty. Everyone just thought I was a master. So I like the look of this, right? We got 10% short float. We have August on the damn. We have earnings on the 5th. Swing trading around earning times always sucks. Right? So it's like, when exactly is the 5th? Yeah, Thursday. So it's like, what's this going to do between now and Thursday? Sometimes you get run-ups into earnings, but it's just not. Often I've noticed that at least the couple days before earnings are usually pretty lame. So I just try to avoid that entirely, right? David Allen said something similar about the brain being for idea creation, not so much for storage. And it could be that Ali was just quoting David Allen, but I think that that's brilliant. And that's why the wife thinks I'm insane, because every now and then I'll just ask. I will not say her name to trigger things in your house, but I ask my virtual assistant, like in like the middle of dinner or conversations or something, just remind me tomorrow of something, and she just doesn't get it. But for me, it's like it's out of my head, right? I don't need to worry about it. At tomorrow it's gonna ping me and say, "Hey, Mike, do this," and that'll be the end of her. So I really strongly believe in keeping this as clear as possible to get ready, to think about things, to actually have deep and meaningful, intellectual thought. And then when it comes, it's same as my trading, right? I just want to automate everything that I can that I don't think a human can help with. I do like the look of this, but I already took some on the close. I told the Stats Edge Pro guys. Basically, I was looking at this. I think it was on a list or something earlier in the week, so then it popped up in my scans again. This $14 number seemed like a big number, and we were holding against that pretty substantially. I want to start utilizing these AVWAPs more, just because I think Brian Shannon is without a shadow of a doubt onto something here. I've often thought about trying to use this as support resistance, but then how the hell do I test it? Because it's a... Never mind. Again, that's what my brain's for, not holding on to information. But yeah, so the IPO from, or the AVWAP, the anchored VWAP from the IPO, which we had a great chat about in the members monthly webinar, which is part of the member product, where we have just a month of, or 1 day a month where we sit down, and I think it was like 2.5 hours. We talked about it, but long story short, the AVU app represents where the average market participant is from a certain point. So I anchored that from the IPO here, or if this is a SPAC, from when it got de-SPACed. Came along, 14 seemed to be a big thing here. Broke and closed above 14 today, so I took a little bit on the close, trying to see if we can take a run at high. Is Bitcoin moving? We already did our Bitcoin analysis. Hopefully I didn't miss the short. Oh, we got a little pop here. Yeah, if that's exciting to you, you're new to the Bitcoin space. Just took a little move. Like that's nothing for it. So we'll see. Again, if it closes above here in the 42s or 43s, that'd be interesting. But it's just so overextended from this low. I just can't. Now, if it gets rejected from that high, that might be an interesting short. But that's not a big deal. Just let me remind you of, a lot of these moves happening in like minutes, right, on a percentage basis. I'm kind of new, but it's not. You're right. It's been really non-volatile lately. It's just been choppy. But yeah, Bitcoin can go. I've seen Bitcoin up or down 15-20% in like 15 minutes, right? It's got none of the traditional, as much as people hate on HFTs, it's got none of those stopping mechanisms. Sorry, just getting a question from which is another thing, right? If any of you guys, I still have the Discord open for Stats Edge. So if any of you just want to ping away with something, you can feel free to do it there if you don't want to do it in the YouTube chat. But so this is interesting to me. So we're going to do a little bit of impromptu analysis and maybe a Bitcoin trade. Oh no, definitely not a trade. So we spiked above here and immediately was met with sellers, right? So, I'm looking at this high right here. We just spiked over it and we went about 1,000 or two and then boom, right back down. So what I may do is I may actually set up a stop limit entry, if this candle turns red, to take a short and then just put my stop above here. Just because that would mean that there's a whole bunch of trapped traders on that breakout. So thanks, Raz, for pointing that out, because that might be a trade right there. Now I'm not going to buy it here, right? Again, it's gone from 30,000 to 40,000 pretty much nonstop, but just the reason I wanted to talk about that is that's how I like to. My thought process of a trade, right? It's always if this, then this, if this, then this, right? So if on this 4-hour candle, which I don't even know when this 4-hour candle ends, probably not going to be the top of the hours, and then it pulls back, then I'll take a short, and that's where my stop will go, kind of thing. If it doesn't, if it holds above here, then there's just no trade for me. So I will just, on my handy dandy TrendSpider right here, which if you're interested in trade ideas, which is the other program I'm using, or TrendSpider, which is this one, links are right under the video. And full disclosure, those are affiliate links, so those will pay me. Yeah, so I'm okay with this alert expiring if 4 hours pass. I'll create an alert. So now everything in my house will freak out if Bitcoin gets back down there. So again, thanks for that. Another place that you guys can come check out and get some discounts on people who I am affiliated with. Oh, I clicked on there. Is right here on my website where I have all those. So if you're interested in buying any of those things and use those links, they're affiliate links. I don't ever like to hide that. I always like to show my bias. So they will pay me if you buy using that link. And if you're anybody with any sort of a following, and you like Trade Ideas or TrendSpider and are interested in becoming an affiliate, let me know because I have insides with them. And again, full disclosure, you'll be a sub affiliate, so we'll end up making a few bucks here. Pay for the A&Ws. Yeah, right. I am all about as many different sources of income as you can possibly grab. That's a big thing for me. I think it's, especially as a trader, it was Brian Lund who does the Lund Loop, if you haven't heard of. Let me get a link to him. I really like his, I like him. I've only met him briefly. He probably doesn't even know who I am. But I think he does some really cool stuff. I like his style of trading. He's a really cool guy. And he does this newsletter here. Like that. I think he said it where he basically said, trading income is sporadic, and my mortgage, they seem to want it like every month. And it's just, that's one of the reasons why I embrace other forms of income. It's not because, right, I'm not a profitable trader or anything. It's just that it gets less stressful the more comes in from different angles, right? Ooh, this is an interesting one. And again, put in your chart requests if you got them. Again, the wife's out at a fancy supper while I'm here working, so it means I can work a little longer. Really like the look of this PSTG. What do they do? Computer device manufacturing, pure storage, flash storage. Okay, so like SSDs, RAM, solid state memory. Okay. Just basically $20 seems to be the level. It's $20 support here and here, resistance here, resistance there. So if we can break and hold over 20, I like that, and then I know my stops right here. So I would be getting in hopefully at or near 20 and a stop around 19. So let's say $1.50 stop. Could I get to 23? Where does 23 exist? Up here? Yeah, very easily. And then way further if this thing continues an uptrend. Yeah, so I like the look of this one. So I am going to add this one to the list. NAND, NAND. Oh, the prices, okay, of solid state stuff. Yeah. I know they always go after the crypto stuff when crypto is going. They always go after the graphics cards. So if I have a plan to do, I guess I can tell you guys. So there's this Rose, this super cool. Boom. There's this super cool website just called Rose, which is I'm not an affiliate with, unless somebody here knows someone from them and they want to sponsor me. That'd be fantastic. But it's basically like Excel spreadsheets, but with API connections built in, so you can pull in things from different things. And I'm going to play with some of that on the weekend too. Just start playing with some alternative data sets with stuff like that, like prices of SSDs and all of this. Actually, good thing I need to get my hand on SSD prices math. So I might do a blog post or a video about those SSD prices. I need to get my hand on the big iPad, the 12.9-inch one, and see if I could just use that as my laptop with the keyboard and the mouse and everything they've got in now. Because I just love holding just notes. That's that. I like that, Brett. I'm gonna do something about that. I think either a video or something where I talk about SSD prices, and then also I still have on it to talk about my favorite candlesticks setups. Right, write it down so I don't forget it. This TECL is interesting, but it is a ETF. I just want to know what is an ETF of. Oh, just the XLK. ALGM. Interesting. Again, I just think it's a little overdone from its support, but I kind of see what you're looking at there. If it kind of gets over here, it's got some clear space, and IART. Yeah, that's just too indescribably gross. So how do I describe this? Why I don't like this one? Because these are one of those unquantifiable things that I just want to. I think it's important. So let's actually duplicate this chart and let's go over here, and then let's take a look at Apple. Of course, they're symbol linked. Symbol linking. Mainly look at, I guess this is probably a good way to look at it. Look at the ratio of wicks to bodies, right? How much of wickiness there is, and then how choppy price action looks in comparison to something a little bit more smooth, right? Now, this thing did 483,000 shares, and that was a little bit over double normal volume. So, that's going to tell you a lot of what's going on there. Again, doesn't mean it's not tradable or anything. It's just when I look at that, it just looked gross in my eye. And it's one of those things that I can't quantify in any way. It just comes from staring at thousands of charts. So yeah, it will look better on the weekly because those wicks will be covered up, because those wicks still occurred, but they occurred in the week here, right? And then if I go to here, it's the same thing, right? Again, smoother action, right? So again, I'm not saying don't trade it, but what you have to do is you have to know that and then take that into account. Where essentially what you're doing is you need to just know that this thing is going to be choppy as hell. So to get around something that's choppy as hell, you just need to create wider stops, right? And be very careful on the open and the close, because that when the choppiness comes through, because it's lower volume and less liquid, it's just more of a likelihood that you're going to get stopped out on on something like this, right? So this fell from 68 down to 65 and then closed right at the high of the day. So this kind of stuff, and it occurred here, and then it occurred here, and then it occurred here, and then here. So it's just gonna be, a stop. If you were to buy it, you couldn't put a stop here. You got to put a stop kind of well under support price. Hey, Cena, stop it. Dragging your arse on the floor. Gross thing, you. I know. Ew. Yeah, no problem, Mike. So I'm just gonna finish going through this list. Let me know if you have any more questions, and then I will. I'll wrap it up because I really want to get the Stats Edge stuff out as well. See, this one looks nice to me. It's a nice, right, pullback. I really like pullbacks. I like to time pullbacks just because, again, the best support and resistance kind of thing. But China, and I am not doing the China thing right now. as they're just coming out and saying, yeah, you who is in business and have been in business for a long period of time, hey, you're not in business anymore. And I don't want to exist in an environment where that's going on. So I like that we have these flags right here within Trade Ideas. Again, links in the description below, but I always leave this up with this flag because I'm just not into in particular, I'm just not into China stocks right now. I have no idea what they're doing. I maybe they just believe that there's no say in the matter. You just have to deal with them. But man, they're really tanking their economy with this one. Like, I think they're hell bent on getting any investors outside after just straight saying, yeah, no, you can't exist as a company anymore. AZRE is interesting to me. Again, another potential lower or higher low play, I guess is probably the best way to put it. Down and then up and then down, right? So potentially if this thing breaks up here, it's gone from making lower lows to making a higher low. So I'm going to add this one here as well. And this, I think, is going to be what the video is about this week. So yeah, I just want to go through this one for the EVs were on fire today. Amazing. EVs like NIO. Yeah. Oh, Link USD. Sorry. EXPV. EXPV. Yeah, I just can't. I know the EVs are going, and then they're going because of Tesla, right? Tesla actually looks really nice. If it can get and close over $700, I think Tesla's like a really nice looking trade. But you know what? Yeah. Duh. So I think the video that I'm about to make is actually going to be about Tesla for Monday. If it can get and hold over $700. It's just, if I was going to look at EVs, I'm going to look at EVs that are in the US. I just can't, again, I don't know if you guys have been following the news with what happened, but basically there's been like 3 industries now where China has just come in and said, hey, you guys have been operating these industries in the US for 10, 20 years. Too bad. The state's doing it now. Get the hell out. And just like killing not only companies but entire sectors, right? Yeah, Tesla I was actually looking at last night. $700 is the key here. If it is, then again, it's another higher low play, right? So this thing sold off, made a low, made a lower high, made a slightly lower or equal low, and then a high here, and then if we break out, then there's your lower low, right? And that's what I like to play off of, right? Where that's the lower low. And then let's take a look at your link. I haven't looked at. I would need to learn a little bit about the coin as well. So that's still struggling up here. But USD. I generally look at the Kraken one, just FYI, just because it's yeah, same look as the rest. Right? No difference here with the other one, personally. Right? We had a crash. Right? We're in a downtrend, and then ever since then we've been kind of chopping sideways. This one's way stronger, right? If you look at this compared to a Bitcoin, right, and look at this, right, this congestion. Oh, that's 4 hours. Let's go to the daily. Sorry, that's why it looked a little different, right? So yeah, so here's your congestion, right? Your highs are way back here and your lows are way back here. So you have more room. And on a daily basis, if you look at this daily candle versus this daily candle, which is why I use Kraken for everything so that the daily candles sync up, you're way stronger. So that's a good thing, I guess. You know, being stronger like that also means that you have, you know, you're a bit overextended. But again, if I had to buy a crypto, I would take that. I like to short. One of the stats that made me really interested in shorting crypto, and I need to find out where, is basically if you took away the 10 best days for the crypto markets, crypto is flat or a loser, right? So basically all of the bullish moves kind of happened summed up into 10 days. So it just means now I own, like, just in a wallet somewhere, not enough, obviously. I have some Bitcoin just tucked away, right? Doing what it's doing. It's in a hard wallet, right? Off chain, all that kind of stuff. But I like to tinker. I like to trade around it. So because I own some long, I'm always trying to look to short against it as a hedge. At the same time, I am always making sure that you know, you have to be cognizant of the shorting of it, right? So, but that was kind of the stat that made that kind of interesting to me. That, right, if you take out the 10 best days of the crypto market, it's down, right? So it's basically just means grinds lower, grinds low, grinds lower, massive spike, or maybe it's the 10 best weeks. I don't know, one of those. But right, it grinds lower and then a massive spike, and then that massive spike is what causes all of the gains for that particular currency or sector pair. Yeah, so I'm going to make a video about Tesla. I'm going to take off here. Again, Jess is away, so I'm going to try to hammer through all of the Stats Edge trading stuff right now. So I'll have that out to you guys tonight. It also means it just frees up my weekend so that I can, you know, go do something, which is fun. Thank you, everybody, for coming and watching and following along. Again, go check out the websites in the description below. Stats Edge Trading. There is a free trading course there that will always be free. It's 39 video lessons long. So if you're new to trading, you want to learn about it, go check that out. And again, thank you everyone for coming, and trade safe out there. Oh, and like the video on the way out. YouTube yells at me for that. So have a good one, guys.